an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering One Piece, episodes 34 and 35. In these episodes, we find out that not only did Nami not kill Usopp, she stabbed her own hand. Which is like, that's badass. That's baller. That's fucking gangster shit. Nami the gangster. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. I'm sorry, guys. I just got distracted because Kyle is in the chat over here saying you've really got to hand it to her. And Kyle, I have said it before and I'll say it again. I will boot you. Stop it. Thank you to Gabriela for commissioning this episode. I'm sorry, Gabriela, that my thanks to you was so rudely interrupted by that dad joke. Yeah, these episodes were really good. There was a lot happening here. I really, really liked the, ongoing story, because by the second episode, we still aren't done with Nami's backstory, and I really thought we would be. So, I don't know if, I remember somebody saying at one point that there were times where they would want me to watch maybe 3 episodes instead of just 2, and maybe this was the sort of thing they were meaning, that, Nami's full story arc would have been 3 full episodes here and it would have made sense. And we'll see about how long it takes me to get through these 2, but I can understand why some of you might be interested in trying to do that. So, we'll just sort of play it by ear. Candace has been creating the events ahead of time and has stopped actually putting the episode numbers in the events so that there isn't so much of a schedule, and then I can just sort of fill it in as I go along, depending on what we decide to do. So, and one of you, I think Ryan says, when's next time? I already can't wait. Those of you who are in the Crowdcast, if you go up to the upper left, you'll see under where it says One Piece, it says schedule, and session 18 of 41 so far. If you click on that, it will drop down and show you all of the ones coming up. And you can register so you get notifications before I go live. And also, for those of you who are interested, I have been reviving the Discord. And we're going to really give it a shot because I've been just so frustrated with Facebook. But people weren't that interested in Mighty Network. And a lot of folks are in Discord anyway for other things. And also, I don't have to pay extra for Discord. I actually did anyway. I bought the Nitro thing, but I was having to pay monthly for Mighty Network. So I decided to give it a shot as an alternative to Facebook that lends itself a lot more easily to different discussions on different topics. And I have created a spoiler chat in there for One Piece. So I know that you guys have been dealing in a private chat that you've created. But if at all possible, if you can shift that to the Discord that doesn't require people to have a Facebook or to track one of you down and get in there, it will probably be more accessible to everybody if it's in there. And I'm going to share the link to the Discord in the posts for all of my episodes from now on. And that way people can I'm making it open to the non-patrons as well as patrons. And there are going to be some channels that are patrons only, but most things are going to be available to everybody. And I'm just hoping that will even the playing field a little bit, because I know a lot of people don't even want to have a Facebook to be in the Unspoiled community, which I deeply sympathize with. But I wasn't really having a lot of luck moving the community, and Discord is the one place that it seems like there was a fair number of people wishing it was more active, and it was already integrated with Patreon. So I just decided to give it another try and stop being such an old head, refusing to learn new things. And I hope that it does begin to take off. And thanks to Alex and Candace, who are both sort of spearheading getting things organized in there so that the roles and there are going to be some channels that you can opt into seeing and whatnot, that will be a lot more, what's the word I want? Polished looking. So Gabriela says, let's have One Piece emotes. I am all about it. I have tried uploading some emotes with like varying success. I've had a couple that looked really good, and then a few that looked like they had transparent backgrounds until they were uploaded, and then they were a big white square and it was very ugly. So if y'all know how to do that and feel the urge, I am 100% behind you. Go ahead. But I unfortunately am a bit of a noob, and so I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to learn. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to let you all know about that, and hopefully it'll make it easier for you to figure out who's going to commission what episodes and whatnot if there's a chat that everybody can join a lot more easily. So, okay, getting into the actual episodes here. I had said that was pretty sure that Nami had not killed Usopp. Like, I just kind of took it for granted that isn't what happened. But I never guessed that was that she had injured herself in doing so, and covering up what she had done. And Usopp is so sort of, I feel like clueless isn't really fair, but I am a little bit surprised that he didn't like give her away somehow and be like, Nami, you stabbed your hand. What are you doing? You know, like I could kind of see him doing that. But yeah, he winds up being the one on the beach, as I had guessed. And also I should mention too, because Florian has warned me about like reading the intros on episodes because they'll be so full of spoilers. So I have been able to avoid that. They give you a fair amount of warning since it's up in Japanese first, that I'm able to look away before getting spoiled. But the title of this episode is Everyone's Gathered. Usopp speaks the truth about Nami. So yeah, if you had ever thought Usopp was dead, this was going to be immediately allayed. And I just can't understand why they decided to handle it this way. I really don't. I don't get it. So the episode starts off with Johnny lamenting that she has been a witch the whole time. She's scum, rotten to the core. And to his credit, I want to say to his credit, it's hard to say that, but Luffy doesn't believe this for a moment. In fact, he's really disgusted that Johnny is so prepared to believe it himself. And this winds up causing a rift between those two dudes and our crew, which I have to assume will be healed at some point, but I also don't really care about those guys at all. So if the rift wasn't healed and they just stayed off doing their own thing, I don't even think I'd be that mad about it. Like, if I'm being real with you guys, good riddance a tiny bit, because y'all are awkward and just don't fit, really? Is that mean? I don't, they feel like, who are you? Where'd you come from again? You're weird. Like, I don't know. I don't like them. So when they decided that they were going to take off by themselves, I was kind of like, good, go. So he's in the midst of screaming to Luffy. I saw it with my own eyes. And Luffy says she would never, we're friends. And at this moment, Nami is behind them. And she says, who are friends, Luffy? And she attempts to do the whole cool, casual, you guys are just good for money, and now that you're broke, I don't have any use for you. Don't make me laugh. You're a pathetic bunch of people cooperating with each other. Which there's something about the sort of inane description of a bunch of people cooperating with each other that really got me giggling a little bit. It's just such... It's not insulting in any way, but so her calling it pathetic inherently is even funnier to me somehow. And Alex says, oh, let's see. Boo, boo, boo. Florian says, yeah, I get it. They are weird. Alex says, they feel like characters that were added in the anime for no reason, but they weren't. They weren't added for no reason? Is that what you're saying, Alex? They were in the manga. Oh, I see what you mean. So they don't feel like they were from the manga. I get what you mean. Yeah, I was talking about that today, guys. How many of you, you know what, I don't have time for this, but was having a talk with somebody about the Walking Dead, like, comics versus TV show and some of the stuff that's different. And it makes some weird decisions sometimes. So, yeah, there's this whole, like, sort of showdown on the sidewalk. I mean, yeah, that's fine. This trail, this road, where he's pointing his finger at her and being like, I saw you with my own eyes. I know what you are. And she's like, dude, listen, I'm actually trying to do you a favor because Zoro was really stupid and he went and killed a bunch of guys. And once they track y'all down, it's going to be bad for you. So I'm trying to let you know that despite how strong some of you may be, you're not actually as strong as monsters are. And you probably want to bail. And she's doing all of this, like warning them, continuing to insist. It doesn't even matter to me, though. Like, whatever. I don't even care if you leave. Like, you know, you could leave or you could, like, not leave. But, like, I just wanted to warn you, even though I don't care, totally don't at all. Just that you should definitely, you know, if you don't want to die, like, I don't care if you die. And I was just like, oh my God, Nami, girl. You may be fooling some of these doofuses, but not me. And I love this guy's fucking Sanji. Look. Sanji being such a fucking... I don't even want to call him a ladies' man, because that always implies that the ladies like him back. And I don't know that to be true with him. Nami seems unmoved, for example. But he is so girl crazy, I guess. I expected to find this more annoying. And maybe I will find it annoying, like, as time goes on, if this keeps being a thing. But in this scene, I really enjoyed this. Her cool look is so enchanting. Hi, Nami-san. It's me. Do you remember me? Let's sail together. I don't... And then Zoro tells him to stop because he's complicating things. And he says, love is always a hurricane. You know what? You know what I think I like about it? That Sanji is so, like, ice cold so much of the time and doesn't seem moved by anything. So when he gets like this, it's such a complete departure from his attitude the rest of the time that I find it really, like, endearing because it's just so fucking goofy. And so, like I said, I may eventually find this irritating, but as of right now, it's very funny to me. Like, I genuinely enjoy it a lot. And I liked him standing up for her. It stopped Zoro, you know, like this whole thing. So yeah, Zoro asks, where's Usopp? She says bottom of the ocean. That's when Zoro starts to head for her. And Sanji steps between them and is like, you know, dude, would a swordsman go after a woman? Like, come on. And Zoro again, you don't even know what's going on. And Sanji says, I guess I'd be irritated too, coming right off an insulting defeat. And honestly, it's not a defeat. Like, he absolutely laid out most of the crew back there. So I don't even know what... Is Sanji talking about, like, the defeat with Hawkeye? Hawkeye? What was his name? I think that might be what he's referencing. But regardless, this whole thing is the two of them, like, being at odds with one another was very entertaining for me, and I really appreciated it. I have to mention too, guys, so Owen and I have decided, for whatever reason, I can't like explain it or justify it. We have decided to go through watching all of the Fast and the Furious movies, starting from the first one. And I've never seen any of them. I went to see Tokyo Drift in a drive-in with my ex-husband when we were first dating. And we wound up like having sex in the car and completely ignoring the movie. And I didn't remember a damn thing about it. I will say that we finally got to Tokyo Drift the other night. And there is a character, like a sidekick to the bad guy in that movie, who looks so much like Zorro's character, but has the energy of Sanji and like dresses like him and has that languid sort of, and also has a cigarette. And I just kept looking at him like, is this on purpose? Like, did he do that? Is that a bit of a thing? But I couldn't tell. I will say Tokyo Drift, while silly and full of misogynistic crap, is insanely well done in terms of its like stunts and whatnot. So if y'all are interested in something that is fun to put on in the background and just be a spectacle, I really didn't expect much of it. And so far it was way better than the first two. So just go home with those two things. Oh my God. Alex says, I can't believe the main character is supposed to be 17. Everybody in those movies that is supposed to be a teenager, they look like yeah, don't get me started. It's ridiculous. But yeah, all of the stunts in that movie were like practically everything was real. And I assumed on a lot of them that they were CGI until I went and looked it up because I just couldn't believe people could pull that off. And evidently drift culture is like a real thing. And they did a ton of research and a whole lot of work went into making it true to the culture there in Tokyo specifically. So if you're interested, but yeah, that guy, the whole look of him, he had the suit like Sanji, but his hair was really cut short. I don't think it was green, but it was in style, same as Zoro's, and like bright orange, I think, or something like that. And I just kept thinking about him. So, okay. At this point, we have this weird reaction where the two of them are fighting, and I think it's not Johnny who steps in, it's the other one, and is telling them to like knock it off. And then Luffy just fucking collapses in the middle of the road. And I say collapse, but that really makes it sound like he fainted, and that's not what happens. He just lays on back. And he says, I don't plan on leaving the island, and I'm not interested in what's happening on the island. So, I'm just going to stay here and sleep. I don't... Did I miss something? I don't get what he's doing. It's just, is it meant to sort of just throw Nami off? Is he trying to be like, this is how little I believe any of this bullshit? Is he trying to say, Nami, you're acting like you don't care about us, but you're also insisting we leave, so I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to make you admit that you give a shit whether I live or die? That's gotta be it, right? It's just, Luffy has no air of pretense about him. There's nothing that seems to give off the implication that he's scheming at all. So assigning that kind of motivation feels totally out of character because there's no sense for me that that's what he's saying. It just feels like that's the only logical explanation that I can think of. And I'm not entirely sure he deserves the credit of a logical explanation. That might not be what he's about, you know? What a weird moment. I genuinely couldn't like make heads or tails of it. So yeah, Nami at this point, she's like looking away, and it's clear because she's trembling that she is having a real emotional reaction to this. And she says, fine, then go ahead and die. And she runs off. And as we see later, she basically throws a tantrum in the house and just breaks a bunch of stuff because she's mad. So then we cut to the Navy. Now, guys, I really liked this a lot. I'm not sure if... I don't know if anything else is going to come of it, because it seems like it ends so unceremoniously that there has to be something more to it than what we see here. That said, does there? Because if there isn't, if this is all we get, I'm going to be honest, I kind of love it. I am a big fan of somebody showing up and seeming like they're going to save the day, and then they get taken out immediately. It's of course deeply frustrating when it happens, especially if you care about the people who are going to be saved. But it's, like that guy in The Shining who turns up and it seems like he's going to really set things right. And then the instant he walks inside, he gets, what doesn't he get, like his head bashed in with like a shovel or a hatchet, something. Maybe it's the hatchet that he uses on the door later. But spoilers for The Shining. That dude, there's a real big lead up to him coming back to the hotel, and all of the hope that you have sort of hangs on him, and then he just doesn't manage to pull anything off and is killed right away. So the Navy is pulling in and looks like they are going to save this island. And they're watching it, y'all. The design of this guy. So I don't remember this character's name, but he's talking to his people about extracting the survivors from the town of Gosa. And then he's like, also though, Arlong has set up a fucking castle and is sitting pretty, essentially. And if we are to allow that, it wouldn't really align with our values, would it? So we are going to annihilate Arlong and take this shit over. And he is saying that as Arlong and his fish face man, all of them are fish faces, I suppose, duck lips, are talking over the arrival of this guy. And he asks whether they will, he's basically like, we can negotiate with them and get 2 million berries out of them. And maybe that'll set up a new, nice sort of mutual relationship between us. And as he is saying this, a cannonball flies over the wall, straight into Arlong's mouth, and he just chomps down on it and smashes it to smithereens. And I gotta say, that was pretty good. I'm not mad at that. I wasn't expecting it. I'll say that. And Owen was in the room while I was watching this, and he looked up just as this happened and started cracking up. And it was just like, oh my God. And I was like, yeah, that was dope. I'm here for it. And then he basically spits out the remainder of the cannonball and says, yeah, the negotiations are canceled. We're going to go ahead and fucking kill him. So what they do is fish face. I got to stop doing that because they all are. Duck lips. He says, there's no need to expend so much energy just to take out the trash. And there are only 3 of them that decide that they're going to take this on. And it works. I kind of expected that the 3 of them would wind up being challenged a bit more than they expected, and they'd need to bring in the rest of the crew. It does not seem like that's a problem for them after all. They get in the water. Duck Lips rips the rudder off, and Octopus Man moves part of the reef, which somehow triggers a whirlpool. I don't get how that happens, but essentially the ship can't avoid it because it can't steer anymore since the rudder is gone. So they just get sucked down under the water. Now, as much as they're gone now and they've been sucked under the water, I understand that they really don't matter anymore, and thus, me choosing to do this is superfluous and unnecessary. I'm gonna do it. You know I have to. We get a fucking look at this captain. So first of all, Fishface can spit water out of his mouth with the force of like a gunshot. But the captain of the Marines, y'all. Alright, first, he's all in white with a purple lining to his cloak and blue cuffs to his jacket. Double-breasted, if you want to call it that. It doesn't quite feel like the right term, but there it is. He's got a sort of like bracelet that is topped with a lime green cravat tied like silk scarf and epaulettes, 2 sets of lapels for whatever reason. But the crowning glory, of course, is the man's fucking hair. I truly do not know what to make of this man's hair. What are we doing? Like, Jal, I'm so mad that it won't like pause long enough on his hair. It just gives me like a tiny bit of a moment of him like fully in the shot before it cuts away. And I feel like I can't, it's so outlandish that I can't memorize the look of it fast enough. Ugh, I keep pushing it too far. Y'all, it is a very sort of, he looks like he's from the Capitol in the Hunger Games, is really the look here. He has got lavender hair, which honestly is a look. And it's tied in like 3 bumps on the top of his head, like, and also his beard is sort of looped around also. I don't know. I really want to know where he gets his ideas for these characters' designs. Because this is like the kind of shit that if you gave a 7-year-old girl a bunch of elastics and just let her mess with your hair for 10 minutes while you were watching Frozen, this is the kind of thing I feel like she would come up with. And the drooping like loop in the front, and like all of his hair isn't caught up in those weird loops. There's also a sort of flaring loop on either side of his head behind his ears that I have to assume that's like 50 bobby pins holding that in, I guess. And I just don't get it. I just don't know what to make of it. The loops of this kind, actually, that I'm looking at them now, when I recontextualize them, if they were in dark hair, I guess that I have seen this style in a lot of Asian hairstyles that I've seen. So this loop is not completely foreign to the, like, style of the country of origin. It's just something that you don't see around here much. So for me, it looks particularly weird. But now that I think about it, it's, you know, something like this is out there. It's just been taken to the next level. It's wild. And also the fact that his hair is this lavender with the white suit. I'm a little regretful, to be honest, that this guy is dead already. Wow. Okay. So Gabriela says, by the way, they call him Purin, but technically is Pudding. Gabriela, thank you so much for that gift. Because this guy is named Pud in my head now. Old Pud. And that is just perfection. Old Pud with his fucking hair bumps. What a weirdo. And you know what? If he's going to just be able to carry this hair off and still command a full ship of Marines and they're going to actually listen to him, then he must have some big dick energy to go along with that. Because I don't see anybody actually listening to this guy. He's in the middle of introducing himself when Duck Lips like takes him out with a shot. Duck Lips claims that he didn't actually hit anything vital, and thus I don't know if we're gonna like see him again after all, since this wasn't a mortal wound. But it does look like the ship just goes down. So yeah, I don't know. And like I said, I'm not entirely understanding. I guess. Oh, so he was spinning that spire under the water to try and create I didn't realize until just now watching this a little bit more closely that the animation is that the rock is not just moved, but also spinning as it's moved. So that's what creates okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Like, it wouldn't work, but I also can get what they meant for it to be. So yeah, I fucking love this too, because as the ship is being like pulled in, we jump from character to character's face, and we have the captain looking horrified, but then all of the fishmen looking so pleased and excited about the whole thing. And we cut to the poor kid whose parent was killed, I think his dad, on the beach, and he is devastated by seeing this go down. He really thought that they were going to save him. And I felt for him, man. I really did. That was a pretty, like, heartbreaking moment, actually. And forgive me, guys. What is her name? Purple hair, rockabilly? She tells the kid something like, "This is reality." And I was just like, man, I know, but like, jeez. However, she is known for being sort of harsh. Doesn't even feel like the correct word. She's very matter of fact, and that's kind of part of her character. Nojiko. Okay, thank you, Alex. Appreciate you. Ryan says Luffy suddenly goes to sleep is in the description. Yeah, it's funny to me what they choose to put in the description sometimes. Because I'll read them after I've done the episode, and occasionally they'll make something sound like it's much more of a deal than it actually was in the episode itself. So, yeah, they take the ship down. Again, I'm not sure if anybody's going to have survived that, but we don't see them by the end of this, like these 2 episodes. And then we go back to the road, where our crew is sitting there waiting for Luffy to do anything. And they're all sort of struggling because, like, Zoro is also frustrated here, but he is very trusting of Luffy in a way that I'm not entirely certain Luffy has, I don't know that he's earned that, but it seems almost like Zoro has just decided that he owes Luffy so much that he's willing to put himself out on a limb because it's the least he can do after the kid saved his life, you know? So Johnny and Josaku are like begging for them to make a move, do something, and we need to get the hell out of here. And this is when they take off. Zoro refuses to go. He's just like, yeah, I get it. Bye-bye. And they leave until we meet again. And I was like, I hope not. And Sanji is just chilling under a tree, smoking his cigarette, not causing any trouble. And they're just basically waiting for fucking Luffy to wake up. And then we have the flashback to what happened with Nami. And Usopp is running down the beach remembering how she stabbed her own hand to make him look like he had been stabbed himself. And, yeah, I really appreciated that she, like, did something that injured her. And also, my idea was that she, like, had a piece of fruit or something in her hand that she stabbed that made it look like blood. And I'm glad that it wasn't something that contrived because, like, you know, if it were, this is a cartoon. To a point, I would just be like, all right, fine. But the fact that they went this far with it means that it looked much more like actual blood because it was. That she wasn't able to just pull a piece of fruit from fucking nowhere and nobody noticed that. And also that she did something injurious to herself on his behalf, which is a mark of character. You know, all of this, I feel, works much better than my original idea. I like it. And I love that they're in the midst of talking about whether or not Nami killed Usopp. And Sanji just says to Zoro, come on. Are you telling me you actually think she did that? And Zoro says, I did make her out to be a small fry who can't even watch a guy die. And when he says that, Sanji says, what do you mean, small fry? What's so small about Nami-san's chest? What are you talking about? It doesn't matter. It's so stupid. It doesn't matter because the both of them decide that they are going to strike one another, and poor Usopp winds up right between them as they strike and gets his poor face smashed. Usopp is just everybody's punching bag. Bless him. And I love, Sanji says, so he wasn't dead. And Zoro says, no, I think he's dead now. That was a good time. So then we have Nojiko going back to her house, and we see for the first time, I think, we may have seen it earlier, but I didn't notice, the tangerine orchard. And she comes home and finds Nami just sort of crumpled at the table, and she's got the map that she drew all those years ago. And she just seems really sad. And her and Nojiko talk about the crew and the fact that she was actually happy with them based on what she had heard about their, you know, the way they got along together. And guys, this just tickled me so bad. We get a series of flashbacks to her time with them that are scenes that we didn't actually see in the show. You guys, I swear to God. So there's an episode of Community that is a alleged clip show, which in most comedy, like when you have a sitcom and you do a clip show, what it is that the writers needed a vacation, and so they just decided to assemble a series of best of moments from previous seasons and put them together as if the characters are just talking about them at the table. And it's often seen as kind of a tedious cop-out of an episode by people who were looking for a new story. I remember as a kid really liking those because kids take comfort out of repetition, and so I always really liked getting to see really funny moments over again. But this episode of Community does that alleged clip show, except all of the clips are shit that has never happened on the show, and they're all really, really wild. One of them is them getting chased off of like a movie set by a man in long underwear with a gun, and all of them getting lice or something at one point. So they're all like, you know, going through this, there's a bunch of weird shit. So when this happened here, I was cracking up because we haven't seen any of these moments with any of them. And so seeing them through her eyes, she's thinking back. The first one is all of them playing cards on the deck and Luffy just making up his own rules as to how the game is played. But then, much more dramatically, a memory of the ship springing a leak and Luffy wrapping his mouth around the leak and expanding full of water until eventually he gets shoved backwards and goes flying around the cabin, and the ship fills with water and they go flying out of the hole in the ship, which I have to think would have sunk the ship. No? And it's just treated as this charming memory. What happened? What? I was so I rewound and rewatched it because I was like, I have to have misunderstood what the fuck that just was. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so apparently that's it. And I'm going to jump ahead here because Nojiko goes and she decides to tell the story of Nami and how they were brought up to the rest of the crew. But fucking Luffy just says, "I'll pass," and walks away. Honestly, Luffy is a delight because he's so, I can't predict what he's going to do. I'm going to try and guess here and there while I'm watching and be like, all right, what do I think Luffy's reaction to this is going to be? But not only does he just not really want to hear the story, because as he says, I don't care about her past. He also runs into some fishmen on the road later, looks at them and says, "Wow, I guess those are fishmen." And doesn't slow down, doesn't look at them, doesn't address them, doesn't do shit. Just walks through and amongst them without even... It's just kind of like they're weird-shaped trees. Pays them no mind at all. And again, it was so unexpected and it cracked me up so bad. He does not give any shits. So, now let us begin the story of Nami's childhood. And I should mention too that the rat face Marine who has his payoff arrangement with Arlong, he shows up and he asks to be led to Nami's home specifically. And that is the end of that episode. So then when we start the next one, and I should also mention, guys, I feel like you guys had said that you wanted me to start listening to listen to the theme song at the end of episodes once they transitioned into a new theme song. And they've transitioned, because it does start playing pretty quickly, but I don't know when that happened. So whenever the transition happened, I didn't listen to the old theme song that is at the end. I probably should do that if you guys are interested. I don't know. But we go into the next episode, which is almost exclusively Nami backstory. Like I said, there's a moment with Luffy walking amongst the fishmen and seeming unmoved. And then we have Nami who's looking at the basket of tangerines and gets this sort of happy, nostalgic expression on her face. And it took 8 years. And then we see her as a little kid drawing this map. And so she had a lot of interest in this stuff from a really young age. She began to study navigation from a young age as well. Despite the fact that she was clearly gifted at this stuff, she came from a family that didn't have much money. And so she stole a fair amount. As she says later, "It's not my fault we're poor." And I was like, amen, comrade. Get on board with Nami. But yeah, she steals a book about, I think, navigation specifically. Oh yeah, because it just says navigation on the front of it. But she's trying to back out of the bookshop and she accidentally backs right into the police officer. I love when he shows up and the bookstore owner, who's this older lady, puts a hand to her face and is just like, oh my, clearly she's sort of into him, I think. But then we see her getting carted out of there. And evidently she has a reputation in town at this point. She steals all the time. And when she gets brought, oh my God, guys, I have to show you this too. Another screen share moment. She's getting carried out of town and the animation for for Genzo, is that his name, Florian? The police officer? The animation of him walking away as he's carrying her is so hilarious to me. You guys watch his legs here. It just cracked me up. And it goes on for just long enough that I could not stop laughing when I first watched it. Oh God, that is so funny. So Oh, right. Ryan says, yeah, this is the guy you called the Second Amendment guy last time. Yeah, he has all of the scars on him now. And I am not excited about finding out how he sustained all of those because there's a lot of them. So he brings her home and knocks on the door and says, your no good cat's been at it again. I don't know why he keeps calling her a cat. I don't know what that's about, but that's like more than once that happens. And a woman answers the door. She has a really singular haircut. She's got an undercut mohawk kind of thing going on. But she has bangs in the front and a couple of what I can only describe as ear locks over each ear, like coming down from where her sideburn would be. It's a really weird look. And also always has a cigarette in her mouth. And it's meant to be very clear that she's a bit shady. You know, she's not what one would consider respectable. And when she goes up to the policeman, she tells him says something like, oh, I'm sure even you've shoplifted before. And then, you paid for her, right? And she strokes his face. And then, thanks so much. I don't have money right now. I'll pay you later with my body. And he backs off and says, don't be saying things like that, which I was pleased with because I sort of was like, oh, is that going to be like the deal here? Is she a sex worker? And is he going to be like a creep who's like, oh, looking forward to it? But no, he's so like in a flutter over it and she's just kind of fucking with him, which was genuinely funny to me. So yeah, he runs off and she is sitting there laughing, but so is Nami, and she crouches down and clears her throat and says, what do you think you're laughing at? And then when we go inside, Nami is holding her head and she hits Nami a couple times. Mostly, it's just sort of like a smack that I do not advocate hitting children in any case, but it seems more meant to like startle than to hurt at all. But then later on, she really decks Nami and like sends her flying and repents it right away. Immediately is like, that was not cool of me. I shouldn't have done that. But it's obvious that in that moment, Nami has hit on a particular sore spot for her. She asks Nami, if you wanted the book, why didn't you just tell me? And Nami says, you couldn't have bought it for me. We don't have any money. And that becomes a bit of a thing where apparently the weather is so good that the tangerine orchard isn't the only place that you can get tangerines right now. So they aren't able to make any money because there's no shortage of fruit to be found all over the island for free. And this means that they are struggling, but she doesn't want to admit that to Nami. You know, she keeps trying to hide it. At one point, they're eating dinner together and Nojiko points out, hey, you haven't eaten anything except tangerines. What's going on? And she insists that it's because it's good for her complexion. She's on a diet, you know, but obviously it's that they don't have the money to feed everybody. And both the girls are smart enough to tell that's what's happening. But she just categorically denies that's the situation. And it's just one of those... I actually really appreciated this because this is a woman who clearly is doing her best, you know, and even though she is genuinely trying and clearly actually cares about these girls a lot, she's never done this before. And I don't think that it sounds like she had great models to work from herself, you know? So I found this to be a really like nuanced and subtle storyline, actually. I expected her to be like one of those parents parental figures, because, you know, it turns out they're not actually related, that is flawed in some, like, manners, but turns out to be sort of flawless as a parent. And not so, you know, she has her fuck ups for sure. It's just all meant to be that she learns from her mistakes and does try to do better, because she has such genuine affection for the two girls that she can't help but try and improve as a person on their behalf. And that feels very real to me. I just appreciated this. Like I said, I felt like it was much more nuanced than I was expecting. And you know what, guys? I'm forgetting what her name is, actually. I just realized it. But Bellamere, thank you, guys. So this, she, like, compliments Nami on the, what do you call it, map that she drew, and is impressed with her learning navigation, and just overall is like, God damn, you're really good at this, actually. But this is followed up later on with a sort of scene that stems from Nami being frustrated that she's being given hand-me-downs. And she says something about how she wants new clothes too. But Nojiko is like, my clothes aren't new either, dude. And, you know, she's a little kid and doesn't understand that. But it's really remarkable to me, the difference in personalities at such a young age that can already start to happen. Because I grew up without a lot of money. And I was so careful to avoid complaining about that. That's not to say that I didn't ask for things that I couldn't have. I certainly asked for things. There was no, you know, I didn't ever check myself in doing that. But I never was like resentful that I didn't have more, or that's not fair. I probably was resentful that I didn't have more, but I never wanted to voice that because I felt so certain that my parents were trying so hard that I felt like I was really going to hurt them by saying anything. And I remember feeling that way from a really young age. There was just a sense of impropriety, for lack of a better word, to voicing my dissatisfaction with things. And I remember finding out that some kids got really expensive Christmas gifts and consciously avoiding telling my parents about it when they asked, so what did so-and-so get for Christmas? I would like actively avoid telling them because I felt like they were going to feel guilty that, oh, well, Alicia got a Nintendo for Christmas and I sure didn't get anything like that. And I don't really know where that comes from, why my personality was so concerned with not hurting their feelings. I just genuinely, it has to be something that they taught me in some way, but I don't know where, I don't remember when, I don't remember anything directly said about that. It was just me always wanting to avoid hurting feelings and making them feel like they weren't doing a good job. And so I did know some kids that would have this sort of reaction that Nami has here, where she's just like, I am sick of having used stuff. And I remember being at my friend Marissa's house and her throwing a fit about wanting something that she didn't get and being so like embarrassed on her behalf that she would act up like this and being like, you have a bunch of stuff in your room. You have so many more toys than I have already. What the fuck, dude? You know? And just thinking back on that, and and I'm not trying to say that my way of doing things was better, because I think in a lot of ways that was me already shouldering some like emotional labor to save the people around me. And that has turned into a bit of a mania as an adult that has not served me super well. So there's a line where you can be empathetic and cautious of somebody's feelings, but then you start to get to a point where you allow yourself to be mistreated because you don't stand up for yourself. And I really started to edge up more in that camp. But yeah, this whole thing, she's like, this is when she is arguing with Nojiko, and Nojiko's like, my clothes aren't new either. And then says something about, "You're not my sister. We're not related by blood." And at that point, Bellemere turns around and smacks her and sends her flying, like I said. And it's just a real moment of like, oh, damn. And everybody in the moment realizes that they fucked up. Like, Nami knows this went too far, but she's so upset. And even Bellemere, even though she's mad and realizes that she fucked up, she isn't willing to go back on it yet. She apologizes later. Well, I don't even know if we see her apologize yet, because they didn't see each other again by the end of this episode. But it's clear that she is willing to admit she was wrong later. At this point, though, she's still angry and tells her never to say anything like that. Again, Nami says, "You're not my real mom, and you'd be better off without us." And then she takes off after saying, "You could be free and eat and have all the clothes you want. I wish I had been adopted by somebody rich instead." And it's such a weird combination of Nami like simultaneously really caring about Bellemere, but also being like kind of shitty. It's like, it's a sort of wild combo here, but it makes sense in its way. It's just, there's a lot of intermingled feelings going on, clearly. And she goes out into the night, and it's raining at this point when she like flees the house, but eventually it stops raining, and the policeman has found her and gives her a cup of tea and is trying to take care of her. And eventually Nojiko like winds up catching up with her. But in the meantime, she gets to hear the story of how Bellemere found her and Nojiko and why she took her in. And I really like the policeman's attitude here, because he sort of congratulates her on gaining empathy and caring what happens to Bellemere, and also mentions that Bellemere had been a real pain in the ass when she was a kid also. But eventually she became a Marine. And the town got pretty hard hit by pirates at one point, and she's laying there thinking she's gonna die. And the place looks torn up, guys. Like it's just huge chunks of the street are up, houses are crumbled to the ground and whatnot. And then she sees this little girl walking out of the rubble carrying a tiny baby. And it turns out it's not her little sister. She just found the baby in the rubble also. And Bellemere sees the two of them and is just like, you know what? And it gives her a sort of renewed desire to live. And that is why she takes them in. And she apparently she gets on, I think that she wasn't in, what is the name of this town? Colo, something. But that pirate attack wasn't on the island, right, that we're on now. It was somewhere else. And so she goes looking for medical help and turns up here and begs for a doctor. And even though she's got like all these injuries, is much more intent that they help the two little girls first. Kokoyashi, thank you guys. Because they have developed coughs from being like out in the weather and everything. And eventually they come to her and she announces that she is going to adopt these two little girls, and I'm taking responsibility. Nobody else is going to tell me no. I'm going to raise them to be two wonderful little people who won't lose to the era we live in. And it's a very heartwarming scene. It's really cute. And then we come back to the present, and, or not even, we come back to like the issue at hand, really, is what I mean. Because she has decided to make omelets for them, make a big supper, and blow their budget a tiny bit on this food. And as she's home cooking, they get the pirates land, Arlong's guys land, in a ship that is really makes an impression. He almost leaves without even finding Bellemere at all. And the whole thing is, he wants everybody to pay him a certain amount, and if they don't, he will kill them. And everybody else, as much as it's a strain to pay, they can. But Bellemere absolutely does not have the money, and they know that she will die. And he's turning around to leave, and almost is, like, at the ship. And then somebody calls out, "Hey, there's some smoke coming from deep in the jungle." And they've been given away. And it's a pretty high tension series of cuts, because we go between Arlong and Bellemere cooking, then to the little girls running through the woods trying to warn her, then to the townspeople panicking about where the little girls are, panicking about knowing that Bellemere is by herself, cutting back to Arlong, cutting back to Bellemere. It's really like a lot. It's anxiety inducing. And we have to know Bellemere must die. I have to assume. If she's not dead, like, it's almost worse, I guess. I don't know. But I'm not looking forward to what happens next. I'm very sad about it already because she seems super cool. So, yeah, that is the end of the second episode. And there's just a lot. These were really good, though, you know. The episodes about people's histories are very well done, I think. So, all right, I'm going to wrap, but thank you guys again so much for hanging out with me. Don't forget to check out the Discord. Thank you, Gabriela, for commissioning this one. I really appreciate you. And I will be seeing y'all again soon with a new episode. So until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.